So with the Equifax breach, the hackers were actually able to gain initial access through an unpatched web server, and that is a pretty common attack vector. The real problem that exacerbated and made it much more difficult for Equifax to determine that there was a problem was that they had an internal intrusion detection system that actually should have and could have noticed some nefarious activity going on. However, there was a digital certificate that was used to help authenticate the connections inside of that intrusion prevention system. That certificate expired, and it prevented that communication from happening. And so you actually had an endpoint that was literally trying to sound an alarm and raise awareness of the breach, and was unable to do so because of an expired certificate. The moment that someone finally noticed that certificate and updated it, which was months after the initial breach. The moment that they updated that certificate, alarms started going off, and then they started realizing there was a problem. But of course, by then it was much too late. Yeah, so one certificate essentially led to billions in expense. There was just recently announced a settlement with a class action suit of $700 million that will be paid out. 148 million consumer identities were stolen, and which led to that settlement. They actually estimate that the total cost in terms of damage and so forth from the breach was $1.35 billion. Yeah, I think it's important to point out that Equifax isn't the only company that's been breached, and certainly not the only company that hackers have tried to breach. I mean, the worldwide epidemic of hackers trying to steal identities from companies that have large repositories of identities is a worldwide epidemic that we all need to work together to try to solve. I think the thing that this breach really points out is the importance of managing and finding the digital certificates in your environment, being able to update them, and having that capability is actually as critical a part of your security strategy as your intrusion protection systems, your patching, and all the other parts of security, because hackers will go after the weakest link.